How's it going, everybody? This is Jason Ostrowski, and welcome to a very special edition of the Everything Real Estate Podcast. Today, we celebrate our 50th episode of the Everything Real Estate Podcast, and what started out as one guy sitting in his dining room during the beginning of the pandemic trying to figure out how to put out a decent podcast has turned into 50 episodes later, a guy now sitting in his basement trying to figure out how to put out a good podcast. But all joking aside, I truly appreciate your support and your continued listenership of the podcast. And today we have a very special treat for you. We have the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices and HSF affiliates, Christy Budnick, on the podcast today. Christy oversees over 50,000 agents globally and 1,500 home services offices around the globe on a daily basis. She was named one of Swanepoel's Power 200 people in the real estate industry for the year of 2022. And most importantly, she is just a super cool and down-to-earth human being. So let's get right into it with Christy Budnick on the podcast this week, and we'll pick it up on the other side. All right, so today it is a true pleasure, and quite frankly, I don't even know how we got her on this podcast. I have to thank our education department for this, but it is Christy Budnick, CEO of Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. How are you today? Oh my God, it's so exciting to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much, Jason. And you know what? Let me tell you, Fox and Roach has always been so good to me that I would do anything for your team. So I'm just thrilled to be invited, and I really, really appreciate you reaching out.
Truly, the pleasure is all ours. And you are actually our guest, our special guest, for our 50th podcast today. So we are celebrating our 50th with Christy Budnick, and this is obviously a special episode for all of us. So Christy, your former role as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Florida Network Realty, you roughly had 500 agents.
Yes.
And now you become the CEO of this huge company. What's it like to go from being responsible for 500 agents to now leading approximately 50,000 agents globally as you transitioned into your new role as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices?
Well, you know, it's funny. When Gino called me about entertaining this role, I asked him, I said, what exactly does the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices do? Because like many of us, I had been working in my company for 20 years and I knew what I did and what our company stood for and what our company did. But I certainly had no idea exactly what the role of the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices was. And he said, it's very much like what you do now, except that you lead a team of 500. You have mortgage, you have title, you have relocation, builder services, all of these different property management. And he said, so it's real similar to that. It's just instead of being over Northeast Florida, you're over the globe and 50,000 plus people. And I paused for a second and I said, well, that could be really exciting. So I'll tell you, it has been. It's been a real journey. I'm rolling up on 1 year, actually, as we speak. And it has been so much fun getting to know the network on a different level. I've had such great relationships with especially our top 50 companies over the years. And it's been a lot of fun learning from and getting to know some of the other companies, as well as getting to know our leadership teams across the globe in a different position. And certainly working with HSF, the team is just incredible. So it's been a real challenge getting up to speed because Northeast Florida is one market. The globe is an entirely different market. And the way that real estate is transacted across the globe is so very different. So I'm still learning a lot. And that's exciting. A fun challenge. It's new, it's different. And I'm up for it.
It could probably feel overwhelming at times as you get your feet under you, just like any other new position, and you're moving up, and this is all new and exciting. And to boot, you do it during a pandemic, which had to be a very special experience in itself. I mean, taking that on during a pandemic, I'm sure had its unique challenges. One being that we were back live this past March at the convention, and we're out in Louisville. and you go on stage for the first time in front of all of our affiliates here. And you do a masterful job speaking. And you had to speak for very long stretches of time. You have to bring all your energy to the stage with you. And I don't think people appreciate just how hard that can be. In fact, I read an article recently that at one point you had a fear of public speaking. Is that true?
I did. Yeah. You did your research, Jason. I like that.
Well, I try and come semi-prepared, you know? So how was it? First of all, how did you get over that fear of public speaking? Because you're doing it in front of roughly 4,000 or 5,000 people at the convention.
Yeah, 5,300 actually. Taking me back a few years, when I first graduated from college, I went into consumer finance. I was a loan originator and I loved it. I had done my career in real estate between the ages of 11 and 18. I retired at 18 and I was certain I was never getting back into real estate. So when I graduated, I went into lending and with Bank Boston, actually in Jacksonville, Florida, and really, really enjoyed it. I did it really well and made a good amount of money. And we actually had, one of the things Bank Boston did really, really well was they trained their sales force, whether it was sales training, leadership training, presentations, et cetera. And so I would fly up to Boston with some regularity to go to these training seminars. And after a couple of years, one of the things I realized was I really enjoyed, I'd go up and learn and bring it back with me and actually implement what I learned. And I would, of course, do better than I had the prior year. And so a position came available in the training division and for consumer finance. And I thought to myself, well, I absolutely despise public speaking. I'm terrified. My hands would shake, my head would sweat, my voice would go up and down. It was awful. And I thought, you know what, this is going to really hurt me in life if I can't get over it. And, I guess I was like 25 by then. But I really knew that was going to keep me from doing things that I wanted to do. So I got my cue cards out, and for 2 weeks in front of my family, I practiced my presentation. And I ended up going for the interview. And I know for a fact that others were interviewed that were better speakers than me. But the hiring manager, he said that he hired me. I asked him, why did you choose me? And he said, you wanted it more than anyone else. And I'll tell you, that was such a pivotal moment for me because it was something I was terrified of, but I knew that I could overcome it. And so I've kind of used that as a memory as I've gone through life. Anytime I'm afraid of something or nervous about something, it makes me want to do it all the more because I reflect back on that. So yes, so getting up on that stage, I love speaking in public now. I've definitely gotten over it, but the lights shining in your eyes. I'm one of the few, I think, that likes it when I can see the people because I get a lot of energy and the smiles and all of that from people. Well, when you're on that stage, you don't see people. You see these lights shining in your eyes. You hear people, and I could feel the energy. But probably for the first 10 minutes, I was pretty nervous. I'm not going to joke around about that. I was like, oh boy, I better get this together.
Yeah, it must be like prepping almost like for a huge Zoom training, because a lot of times with these Zoom trainings, if you're training people, you can't see them, Yes. And it's got to be kind of something similar than that, just much more nerve-wracking. So
yeah.
How much time do you prep for a speech like that? Like how much time do you put in, just getting prepared for something like that?
Well, that's something I'm really fortunate. So Denise Doyle, who is our VP of events, she is masterful. That woman, I don't know how she spins all the plates she does, but we work with a company that not only do they put the entire convention together, every prop that you see, all of the lights, all of the music, all of the dancers, all of everything. They put all of it together, and part of it is prepping me for for my speech. So we've already begun for 2023. I had to send it's called Corporate Magic is the company based out of Texas, and I already had to send them ideas for 2023, things that I'm thinking that we want to present, and just some key ideas and quotes and things like that. And we're going to have our first official prep meeting here in the next couple of weeks. So that's how far in advance it begins. And then speech writing begins really somewhere at the end of summer, beginning of fall. And then we truly dial it in by January, February. But we were making tweaks to it literally the day before. So because I'd get up and say, you know what, this word just doesn't feel right. Let's change this out. So it's a lot of prep work. It is.
That's amazing. I mean, I knew it took a lot of time, but
yeah.
To almost do it a year in advance every year.
Well, and you know what's funny, Jason? So one of the other things I didn't realize about convention is when people will say to us, "Hey, can't we go to this location next year?" We book our locations 5 years in advance, because we've gotten to a size that there aren't very, very many locations that can actually host us. Yeah. And there are others vying for those same locations. So so the prep work for convention begins 5 years in advance of the next convention.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's so much that goes into it. I know my wife's mother actually was one of those people that would actually book large events for a very large organization. And I know the work that goes into it. It's really a large undertaking. So I just want to kind of touch upon the name Berkshire Hathaway. And I want to know, in your mind, what is it synonymous with? What does the name Berkshire Hathaway mean to you?
Quality, integrity. That's something that's been really important to me. Matter of fact, when we made the transition, just like you all did, from Prudential to Berkshire Hathaway, I'll have to admit, I didn't realize the full strength of the power of the name Berkshire Hathaway. I thought that we would be making a lateral move. And literally the day that we launched, it became very apparent just how powerful the name Berkshire Hathaway is. And so, that it started nearly 9 years ago when we launched. But the other thing, and I think that this is a little bit interesting, I was able to attend the Berkshire Hathaway shareholder meeting a couple of weeks ago, and talk about seeing the power of the name brand in force. I walked out of there even more blown away by our brand and our affiliation than I could have ever dreamed. And so let me just take you to that event. Over 40,000 people. Tell me a brand. Name another brand. I can't think of one that over 40,000 people travel from all over the globe to attend a shareholder meeting. And you get in line. First of all, you can't get an Uber at the airport because there aren't any. They're all being used. So then you go stand in the cab line, and it's a couple hundred people deep. And so everybody's joining together. So I was in with people from Australia, from Japan, from Texas, and we all just jumped in a cab together to be able to get to downtown. But those folks, that many of them will camp out for 2 days in order to get to be able to get to the seats first. For those that don't camp out, they wait in a line that's over a mile long to be able to get in and hear from Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. I mean, it's just mind-blowing. So if I didn't realize the power of Berkshire Hathaway before attending that, walking away, I'm just so proud to work for this brand. And then, the other thing that I take us to, because it's easy when we look at it from a real estate perspective, we understand the power of the brand, but I like taking things outside of our business because it shows, for example, Churchill Downs. There have only been 2 corporate events at Churchill Downs since their inception in 1875. Wow. And the way that we were able to take over Churchill Downs was because of our Berkshire Hathaway brand. That's the power of the brand, and it's recognized across the globe. So one of the things I always said to my agents was, our brand will get you a seat at the table. It's not going to get you the deal. It's not going to get you the listing. It's not going to get you the buyer. That's incumbent upon you, your strengths, your, knowledge, all of that. But it will get you a seat at the table, unlike other brands. And I think that, in a nutshell, really tells the power of our brand.
It's funny. You basically just said what I always say to, mentees or new agents is that, the brand is going to get your foot in the door. It's up to you to knock it down, but it's going to absolutely get your foot in the door. And usually we see out where we are that sellers want to interview Berkshire Hathaway agents. Our market share obviously is second to none. And you can really see the power of the brand at the convention, because you see all these people coming from all different places, and meeting them is just really, it's really exciting to kind of connect with those people. And you mentioned Churchill Downs. I've never seen so many people descend on one.
Wasn't that fun?
It was a lot. It was a lot of fun. And you really do see it in person. At work, so with that many agents and with that many people with the brand, how do you maintain a collective culture when you have roughly 1,500 offices, not only in the country, but around the globe?
I think that's something we've done really well since the Prudential days. And so I think, when a company is founded, and really our company today was founded back in 1988, when Prudential decided to get into the real estate market. And we're really fortunate that the leadership at that time began a company where the culture was very much sharing across the network. It wasn't one of, this is my fiefdom and I don't want to share ideas, I don't want to collaborate. So I really do have to give our hats off to the folks that began our franchise and have carried it forward. Because I think that's just really, truly inherent in who we are and the way that we have always performed. And that's something that I hear, just like you were saying, you go to a convention or you go to Summit or you go to, any meeting that's a company meeting, and you are able to form those relationships with people that live outside of your area, potentially outside of the country, where you feel very comfortable picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, what are you doing to grow your business this year? Tell me the best idea you have." And I can take it to another level than that too, because the agents, of course, are always very happy to share with one another. But just taking it to Fox and Roach, when I was running Florida Network Realty, I would pick up the phone and call Larry Five, or I would call Joan and say, "Hey, this is something I'm running into. Have you run into this?" And they were always so willing to share, and even to the point of literally sending me the files of whatever it was, a policy, a marketing collateral, just so that I could take it, change out the brand, and run with it. And I would venture to say, in talking with others that have come from other franchise networks, it's not the same. We really do have something very special in our culture.
I completely agree, 100%. And the collaboration, just even on the podcast, the collaboration with some of the people that we've had on, it's pretty amazing, because, we've had some pretty really, incredibly busy people or successful people that come on willingly and like yourself and just say, "Yeah, I'm willing to do it." I just think it's the coolest thing to have the opportunity to sit here and talk to you, or talk to, some of the other guests that we've had on that are with the network and obviously are driving towards one goal together, and that's to make everything better. So let's talk about the real estate environment as a whole. Because right now it's an incredibly competitive environment out there. There's, the industry is full of discounters and disruptors and those out there that want to make noise in our industry. What do you feel is the key to longevity and success in our business right now?
Oh, one thing: relationships. Period. Everybody, when you look across the landscape, so many, and I understand that there are certain people who feel that buying leads is the key to longevity, and to each his own. My personal belief is that if I can fully develop my relationships and stay on top of my relationships and grow those relationships, I don't ever have to do business with people that I don't want to do business with. I'm able to continue adding to my business because if I do a good job for you, for example, you're going to refer me to somebody else. And the likelihood of me wanting to do business with that person is pretty strong. So I fully believe that we've got to double down on our client relationships. And we, again, one of the things that Alan Dalton talks about is we've got to change our vernacular. We have to change the words that we use in this business. To say the words past client is insulting. It's almost like I go to a closing, okay, bye, you're my past client. No, they are our clients. They are our clients for life. And unless we want to be past agents, we need to change the words that we use. We need to change the service level. We need to look at the trends that are out there right now in the marketplace outside of real estate. That's so important because it's easy to look inward. We have to look out and see that right now people want very, very specialized service. They don't want to be treated in a blanket manner. And so that's in a nutshell, my belief is double down on relationships. If you do that, you are in the business for the long haul.
Yeah, and hearing Alan Dalton talk about that vernacular was just mind-blowing, being in the room with him and hearing him talk about it, because it just makes so much sense. And he was so smart about the way that he kind of, laid the groundwork for terminology that you would say to clients and
yes,
take them as
absolutely
clients. And the forever agent branding. And it's just really, really just ingenious. So stepping into your role as CEO, what areas or opportunities were you excited about to focus on now that you've had the chance to potentially mold the company and our future? What is exciting to you and what opportunities are out there for us?
Yeah. So, this year, one of the things that we've done is instead of, I feel like in the past, we've focused on a huge number of very large initiatives. And so this year, one of the things that I've worked with our team on is whittling down what we're focusing on so that we can deliver not only on time, but really, really well. Anything that we do, I want it to have a bow on it. I want it to be delivered in a timely manner and with an implementation plan that makes sense. And, that's one thing I think was really smart. Gino Blafari is brilliant in my opinion. And one of the things that he realized was that we needed a leader that has come from the field, who has experienced some of the really great things about our franchise, but also some of the pain points. And so this year, we've got a handful of initiatives that we are real excited about. The first we actually kicked off in January. And when I started working with Wendy Durand in our marketing department, I said to her, convention is great. We go, we get this excitement and we get a handful of marketing materials that we can hit the ground running with. But then it's very sporadic after that. We don't necessarily get, new, fresh things to be able to use on a regular basis. And she came up with the idea, what if once a month we deliver new content that has everything from the sizzle reels, the social media, the e-cards, the flyers, the whole bit. So our agents have something to be able to use that's fresh every single month. So that was something that we started in January. And the other byproduct of that is I didn't want it to just focus on luxury, because while luxury is a decent percentage of what we do, it's not all that we do. So we've really been very diligent about making sure that the marketing materials and the different projects that we're working on touch on all price levels. So that was one thing. And we've been delivering that every single month like clockwork. I'm real proud to say, and we're getting really great feedback on it. The other thing is quarterly market updates. This is something that we used to do quite a while ago. And so it just gives you really good, I always call it coffee and cocktail talk, so that when you're out meeting with clients or talking with friends and somebody asks you how the market's doing, it's not, oh, it's great. You're able to say, this is what's happening, in this part of the world, but let's talk about what's going on, some trends that we're seeing from the West Coast. So, it really gives that data and some really great insight into the marketplace. And we're delivering those on a quarterly basis now. Matter of fact, I just recorded my first one 2 days ago. So real excited about that. And that will be coming out quarterly. And the other initiative that we're working on is launching our coaching, training, and accountability program. And this is really exciting because in the industry, one of the things the industry has done really well is, in general, is a brand new agent comes in, there's a training program for them that helps them get off the ground running. And even our very experienced, some of our top agents, most companies are pretty good about formulating coaching that helps them achieve the levels that they want. That's very specialized. That's very individualized. But the part that the industry has really missed is that 2 to 4 year agent who, they've come through the initial training, they've hit the ground running, they're doing a decent business, but they really want to be able to level up. And what we force them to do is to go out and spend lots of money on coaches, on going to all of these different training programs. And that just seems to be a shame. So we've worked real diligently for about the past 8 months on putting together a program that focuses, it's a full year program that focuses on that agent and helping them take their business to the next level. So that's pretty exciting. And then, of course, the other thing that we're really focusing on, because we know that it's important, is our continued growth in the international markets. So we've got some real exciting things coming down the pike there with announcements that you'll be hearing. So, and of course, a couple of technology things, but technology is fleeting.
Yeah, speaking of the global market, so I was going to get to this later, but I'm just going to ask you, how does one get his or her foot in the door with one of our affiliates, say in the Bahamas or maybe Madrid or even Montreal? I'm asking for a friend, of course, but I want to, somehow, some way, I want to take my business to an island. How would I potentially do that? Is there a space where someone could make them say from Philadelphia to the Bahamas and work?
Absolutely. Well, so it depends what you want to do. So you pick up the phone and call the broker owner, first of all. They will be thrilled to take your call. I can promise you that. So you could do it in a referral, by way of referrals, creating a referral channel. And we have a number of agents that do that across the network. Or depending upon the country, because the laws are very different across the globe, you may even be able to get a license in that country to sell real estate. So, that would be something you'd want to look into. But yeah, just like in the United States, we have agents within your own company that also have licenses in Florida or California, whatever. And we welcome that. So yeah, but I'll tell you, I'm actually, the week of July 4th, I'm heading out to Cabo for a little bit of business, but also some pleasure. And I'm meeting with our broker owner there. I'm excited to hear from him about the way he does business. He's one of our newer franchise network members. And I just can't wait to hear, from him and see some of the projects they're working on. But they are very open to sharing that our international teams are, if anything, I would say they are hungry for calls from Fox and Roach.
Well, I say that half jokingly because my ultimate dream is to sell real estate on an island somewhere. And I would love to do it for Berkshire Hathaway. And that's why I'm asking, because I would love to make that dream real someday. And that is a true bucket list item of mine that maybe in my career, instead of retiring, I go to an island and sell some real estate there. And
absolutely.
So,
well, and by the time you're ready for that, we'll have lots of islands to choose from.
There you go.
We're going into Monaco now. So, that's not, wouldn't be so bad.
I was just going to say, that's not half bad either. So, all right. So I think from afar, many people may wonder what exactly it is that a huge company's CEO does on a daily basis. So what does a day in the life of Christy Budnick look like? And does it involve riding in helicopters that land on skyscrapers like I envision in my mind? You're walking out, you're doing like a power
It involves
walk,
riding in Ubers riding in Ubers and economy class. So one of the things that I really love about the Berkshire Hathaway brand is we are not frivolous. We're not going to just go throw money around. So there are not any private flights or helicopters. Matter of fact, I would probably get sick in a helicopter, so that would not be pretty. It wouldn't be like 007 type stuff. But yeah, no, a day in the life. So I have an 11-year-old at home, and she's my everything. She's the most incredible little human being in the entire world. And my husband and I are just, we waited late in life to have a child. I was 41 when I had her. And so my day begins at 4 a.m. And so I get up at 4, I kind of shake the morning off just a little bit. By 4:30, I'm up working. And the reason I do that, I work from 4:30 to 6:30 typically, so that I can stop at 6:30, get Kate out of bed, help her get ready for the morning for school, and then get her off to school. Then I'm usually, I bridge obviously a lot of different time zones, and I want to make sure that I'm available for everybody. So oftentimes I'm either working out right after she goes to school, or I get ready and hit the ground running again for work and work all day until the evening. And I typically shut down sometime around 7:30-ish. And so that's a very typical day. It is important. Two things are real important to me: for mental health, for strength, for energy. I've got to work out. That was in the last year, that was something I kind of let go a little bit because I just didn't feel that I had the time on certain days. And I quickly realized that I can't do that. I just need that. So I need my workout and I need my time with my daughter and husband. So, but outside of that, I'm working.
I feel like almost to a person that you hear a lot of people that have come on the podcast talk about how important it is to exercise and have the mental health thing and to have that stamina to keep you going. Yes. It's very interesting that you say that, waking up at that time of day, going all those hours, having a child and taking care of her. I mean, that's a full slate every day that you wake up. And it is interesting to hear you say that, because like I said, almost to a person, the people that are really go all the time have to do the exercise in the morning.
Yes.
For me, it's at night. I'm completely the opposite. I would exercise at midnight if it were up to me, as opposed to like doing like
I'm asleep by 9:00, 9:30 at the latest.
Yeah, I'm definitely a night person. So you had mentioned this earlier, and just from one to another, someone who has had family in the business. So my mother, like you had said, you've been in the real estate business starting at age 11. I was, I think, like age 5 when I was being drugged to all different kinds of properties and open houses and into the office every day. And I know the hatred that comes with having to do that as a child and not wanting to go into real estate. So how much has your mom's influence had on your career? Obviously a lot, but what's the best advice that she ever gave to you about being in the real estate industry all these years?
It's funny. I wouldn't say that she gave me, well, first of all, let me ask you a question. Did you sit on corners waiting for your mom to pick you up for hours?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. I remember so
Same
vividly.
With the territory. Yeah.
Yeah. I sat there and by all the other moms would say, "Do you need a ride home? Is your mom coming for you?" And I was like, "She'll be here. Don't worry. It's okay." She's never been one to give specific advice. Really what it's been is this, my parents divorced when I was 10. And that was one of the things when we moved, my family was Navy. We lived 17 places the first 10 years of my life. And so when we moved back stateside, my mom divorced my father. And so it was just us 3 girls. And so what my sister and I learned from her, it wasn't through advice so much as it was seeing her. And so we saw her work ethic. We saw how people admired her. We saw that, in a time when women generally weren't very highly regarded in a in the workforce, my mother was meeting with the mayor. She was, meeting with the Chamber of Commerce. All these heads of businesses. And so my sister and I think the biggest thing that we learned from her was, it didn't even occur to us that women weren't supposed to be doing those things, or that was at all uncommon, because it was our world. It's what we saw. So the biggest thing that we learned from her was a very strong work ethic to go for anything we felt we wanted to do, and just not have a fear of it. Get out there and try it. And so that's what we learned from her, but it was through watching her as opposed to words.
Well, it must have been very powerful to see those things growing up, and
it was
that confidence to do, to follow what you want to do. And just, I had to, just knowing that you come from a real estate family, it's always a very unique experience growing up.
Sure.
Living under.
Well, and the other thing too, Jason, is she launched our company when she was in her late 30s. And she had never really, so the first 10 years of my life, obviously moving that much, she had done volunteer work. She had never worked for pay. And so, real estate was really the first paying job she had. And she was in a number of different roles before she, chose to move forward with the Prudential franchise. But that was scary. We didn't have the money, so it was, So it's, like you, it was a really good learning experience, just being able to watch her and see how much people admired her. And we knew they admired her because she did a great job. Her work ethic was there. She was reliable. She was trustworthy, and extremely knowledgeable.
Yeah, that's really, kudos to your mom. I know how tough my mother was, a single mother trying to make ends meet for us. And I know how difficult it can be. So that's really admirable. So, okay. So what do you want all of our Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Fox and Roach agents to know about you? And what do you bring to the table as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices?
Wow, that's a good question. Okay. So, what I would want people to know about me is that I've had a lot of people say I'm very approachable, and that I appear to be, when they talk with me, it's exactly what they expected. So the thing I would want Fox and Roach to know is, if you have a good idea, or you have something that you think we need to do differently, better, change the way that we're working on something, or keep doing something the way that we've been doing it because it's really great, I am very approachable. Please reach out to me. Share your ideas with me, because that's how we get better at what we do. So I am a very collaborative leader. I believe, matter of fact, the first 90 days in my role were spent reaching out to each of the CEOs of our top 50 companies. And then from number 51 to 300 plus, I did in small groups, so that I could hear feedback from every single one of our CEOs. And I felt that was really important, because even though I've been a CEO of a franchise, I've been an owner, I've been, so many different roles in a franchise for Berkshire, I knew that I didn't have all the answers. And so that's what's really important to me. I believe in collaboration, but at the end of the day, I'm extremely decisive. So I take the information, I synthesize it, and I quickly move forward. I don't let moss grow under my feet.
That's a great answer. And I can just tell, just us being on this podcast, obviously this is the first time that we're meeting, if you want to call this face-to-face over Zoom, whatever you want to say. I could just tell you just kind of exude this easygoingness, that you are approachable, that you are someone that I can just have a conversation with. And I thank you for that. And I know you're sincere. And when you say these things, I can tell that you're sincere about them. And obviously your energy comes through as well. And being that you're up that early in California, you have all this energy. I am completely jealous. I want some of what you have for breakfast every morning. So, all right. So last question, and then I'm going to let you get out of here. Okay. I know that as a CEO, you have to be a visionary. So I want you to hear me out.
Okay.
Is it possible? Now, you kind of burst my bubble because you said the convention has to be kind of planned 5 years in advance. So I'm going to push this out to like 2030. But is it possible to hold our convention in Italy in 2030, let's say? Because I think you would have a major turnout. The food would be fantastic. And then I was thinking maybe we could get Andrea Bocelli as the musical act.
Wow. How amazing would that be?
Is that a possibility? I want
in the Coliseum, no less.
Exactly. Perfect.
I love the way you think, Jason. I will run that by Denise because you would not have to twist my arm. I'm actually heading to Rome for all of 2 days and to meet with our leaders there. I'm so excited to get to know them even better than I've had the opportunity so far. And I spent 2 weeks in Italy over Christmas holiday. So you would not have to twist my arm on that one at all. Between the food, the people, the history, everything, it's just heaven. So I will ask Denise and I will let you know. How's that?
I'm sure that she is absolutely going to hate me if that was ever a real thing. Logistically, I'm sure that would not be the easiest thing to make happen for her. So,
well, she's got, she's actually from the UK. She's got lots of contacts in Europe. So,
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, London,
you never know.
London wouldn't be too shabby either. I would definitely.
Oh yeah. Another great city.
Well, anyway, I just wanted to thank you again for your time today. It was a real pleasure, meeting you over Zoom and getting a chance to talk to you a little bit. And thank you for addressing our agents out there as well. I know everybody's going to be very excited to hear this podcast. And I wish you nothing but continued success well into the future as our leader with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices.
Well, thank you, Jason. I so admire your team, and I just really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today. So thank you.
And maybe next year at Vegas, I will have the opportunity to meet you face to face. So
absolutely, 100%. Make sure that you find me.
All right. Thanks a lot, Christy. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Take care.
That was the president and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices and HSF affiliates, Christy Budnick. She was great to talk to, and here are a couple takeaways that I had from my conversation with Christy. Number one, it is amazing how many people and how many offices globally that Christy oversees. Her job has to be a hard one. It's hard to wake up every day and take that on, I'm sure, but she does it with a great sense of energy and pride, and you could feel that come through the screen during our conversation. When I asked Christy during our conversation what she thought was the key to longevity and success in the real estate business, without hesitation, she said relationships. And I know we touched upon that several times during many episodes of the Everything Real Estate podcast, but hearing Christy say it, it carries its own weight, its own clout behind it, that I truly believe, and as does Christy, that building those relationships with your clients over the long term, over the life of your real estate career is going to lead to the most success that you're going to have in real estate. As Christy mentioned, get rid of the term past clients. Erase that from your vocabulary. They are simply our clients, and we want to be their forever agent. And the way that we do that is by building strong relationships with them. And the last thing I wanted to share with you, just an observation. Christy joined me today from a hotel room out in California. She lives in Florida. She's on the road. She's got a lot to do. And she joins me at 7 o'clock in the morning to do this podcast. And she does it all with energy and passion and grace. And it certainly made me feel like, what can I do personally to go that extra mile today? Because being in that situation where Christy is on the West Coast, she's away from her family, she didn't have to come on the podcast today. And I truly want to thank her for that. She leads by example, and I know that we're in good hands moving forward with Christy as president and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. Well, that's it for the podcast this week. On to another 50 episodes. We will be back in another couple of weeks with a new topic, a new guest, and as always, if you want to hear something that we haven't covered yet, please reach out to me, jason.ostrowski@foxroach.com. And if you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, please do so. Please leave us a review. It helps us to reach more people. For now, this is Jason Ostrowski signing off saying stay safe out there, stay selling, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Everything Real Estate Podcast.